we'll see how we're doing. Says I'm starting up, receiving your content. I love how it always starts in the green and then immediately goes to orange and be like, ooh, your internet's not up to snuff. Your 50 up speed isn't good enough. It's
You disgusting paupers internet.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's funny is because I think YouTube changed their criteria for what they wanted in terms of like an up speed for live. Because I had I think it was like 10 up, and I would occasionally have hiccups. And for the most part, I was in the green in terms of like my stream health. And then as soon as I upgraded to like 50, what was it, megabits up, it basically was like always in the yellow. So I'm like, wait, what? Like,
You're
what?
like, well, you got to move to a place that has fiber. And you just
Yeah,
give up if you don't even have that.
yeah, exactly. Wow, we already got a super chat. Victor Hale, hey, what's up, Victor? 199. He says hello. Well,
Ooh,
hello to you too.
we got a Greg in the chat.
Oh yeah, Greg, I do apologize. I think a month back I asked you about going to DAC, and then you're like, "Yeah, I'm available," and then I got distracted with my family and didn't respond to you. So we need to make that happen. I
We call that
apologize.
a double T,
Yeah,
typical Tony.
yeah, that was not intentional to ignore you. Um, so I'm sorry about that. But still interested in going to DAC. Hit me up. We'll make it happen. Um, wow, this is actually pretty cool. I wonder if everyone's just like at home already because they're waiting for Game of Thrones, so they're really not out and about. So maybe they had.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a pretty prime time. We'll get you guys in
Yeah,
and out.
we should have started streaming it right at 9 so that we'd get like 2 people the
Yeah,
entire time.
exactly. Well, this is perfect. This is sort of like your pre-show to Game of Thrones. One of us, either me or John, will die and or make love to each other. We'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, in the grand scale of things, technically both of us will die.
Well, that's very true. That's very true. Yep. The disembodied voice of John is here. He just got back from somewhere. I think he was working today, and he just wanted to. I think he's didn't have time to do the full setup, but still wanted to be a part of the show. So he's joining us via voice today. So you just have to look at my ugly mug and whatever else I show to you today.
Now, I could have actually gone to Tony's house and recorded, but then I might have missed Game of Thrones.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm just going to throw the quality of this episode under the bus so I don't miss anything.
That's totally fine, honestly, because we had kind of an off day. Like I've had a headache all day, mostly from drinking last night, and I fell asleep. Like we went to go see Endgame today, and we had a babysitter for Thomas, and they were playing outside, having a good time. So Thomas fell asleep. I actually got to like nap, but my headache didn't go away, and I woke up, and so now I'm in that like state where it's like I've slept and I feel better that I've slept, but I've also feel like disheveled and like sort of confused because I slept. so,
Oh,
but
man.
and I'm kind of like sweaty today, so I don't know. I'm just kind of a mess, honestly. So like you would have had to deal with me. Like I haven't showered in a day or so, John. So it might be better that you didn't come over. Just so you didn't have to deal with my non-alcohol drinking self today.
Tony, can I derail this conversation slightly to a
Please.
very similar thing that happened to me? So Monday, I got to hike part of the Appalachian Trail,
Yep.
or Appalachian, however it's pronounced. Around these parts, we say Appalachian, even though that's probably wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I hike in something like 12, 13 miles and set up for the first night. And every single time I was about to get to sleep, these two barred owls would start fighting over whose territory that campsite was.
Those owls.
So you'd be like, finally just getting to, you're like, what the hell is like, and you just kept waking up like every like 20 or 30 minutes. And finally I was just like, kept getting woken up in the middle of like REM sleep. And so at one point I woke up and I was suddenly convinced that the next, the next campsite, some guy there was convinced that I was a bad tailor. And somehow in this, I am a tailor, even though I'm not. I've never done that ever. And that he was sending his son to come around and tell everybody that I was shit at it. and then I was just a complete moron. And I just woke up so mad that this jerk at the next campsite did this. And then I was like, it's like the first like 30, 40 seconds of waking up. I'm like, that son of a wait, what?
Yeah.
None of that happened. And then I went back to sleep, and then the owls woke me up. And suddenly I woke up, and apparently it was from the same dream again because I was convinced that this kid was going around telling all of these lies about me. I was like, what in the actual hell?
Yeah.
But
Well, John,
yeah,
imagine that's your night every night for like 10 years. That's parenthood. So,
yeah.
just a horrible, like, confusion, like constant confusion. But I thought you were actually going to tell a different story about your protein bars, but maybe we'll leave that for another
Oh,
day.
yeah. We can tell that one later. You got
Yeah.
to keep them until the end.
Yeah, there was
And
some,
that's a bit of a hint.
there's yeah, exactly. There's some protein bar drama, which is, we won't get into quite yet, but yeah, there's nothing worse than being in like a sort of a foreign place and waking up sort of confused and being like, what the hell is going on? And like, you kind of an unknown situation. So I feel for you, John.
Yeah.
But from what you told me, it seemed like that trip was pretty, although it didn't end the way you wanted to, or really even like get into the stride the way you wanted to. It sounded like from what it was pretty fun.
Oh, yeah. It was super fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to do that. I know you're looking forward to it. And then hopefully maybe next year you can do the full
Yep.
stretch like you planned originally. So,
Hello, Far Out
oh,
Ideas.
Far Out Ideas is here. Far Out Ideas is here. Comment from Miles has just found out about this channel a couple weeks ago. Huge fan now. Thank you very much. Sort of wish I hadn't, though. Now, I really wish Nintendo released the GameCube in those dev unit colors. I think that's a common thought. A lot of people,
Yeah.
want
I wish
that.
we got more of the colors in the U.S.
Yeah, I wish a lot of things, when you wish upon a star. I think I have sunscreen in my eyes now, too. Anyways, I'm falling apart over here, but we hope that everyone had a good week. We'll get you in and out of here before Game of Thrones starts. Not because, mostly for John, and also because we just don't want the embarrassment of our numbers dropping as soon as that
Yeah.
starts. Because then YouTube will be like, oh, well, we will never push their content ever again. Because that's how YouTube works. Speaking of which, if for those unfamiliar with the way YouTube, the beta studio works now, it tells you how your video is doing. I mean, it always kind of did by numbers before, but it summarizes how your video is doing now. So sometimes it's like, whoa, people are really latching onto this video, and they'll give you like a brief sentence about it. And then they'll, sometimes they'll be like, wow, people aren't really responding to this. And then that's normally when it's like we have a really passion project we really care about. That's when it normally is that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then yesterday I released a video that was sort of like a buyer's/vetting guide for potential buyers or prototypes that really functions in every sort of buying situation that you do online anyways. How to make sure you're not getting scammed, essentially. And it wasn't, hard and fast rules, but definitely stuff that I follow, my friends follow, in terms of making sure that you're safe online in terms of your money and such, which I definitely recommend that you guys watch because it's an interesting watch, to say the least. But Anna, my wife, asked me, hey, how's your video doing? I'm like, oh, I'll go check. And then, I'm going to have to try to find the exact wording here, but it was something to the effect of like, oh, your video is doing okay, just about on par with everything else. So I was like, oh, all right. Okay. I mean, I guess that's good. But it was just like, YouTube was just so like nonchalant, like, yeah, this is nothing special, but it's not bad. Is basically what they were saying. So it was kind of funny. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started with our topics here. Just a quick channel update. We are narrowing down our ASPCA charity purchase event for the 3D printed N64 DD dev discs that are not functional anyway. They're just 3D printed replicas to mid-June. We're still trying to figure it out, but we're thinking mid-June would probably be a good date. Maybe the week before Father's Day, something like that. I know it's kind of been on the back burner for a long time, but I'm hoping to lock that down with the guys this week so we can finally get some closure on that. And then that way when you hear, Sarah McLachlan sing In the Arms of the Angels when those commercials come on, you'll have already donated and you won't feel so bad about all the dying puppies and horribly abused kittens. So it'll be good stuff. John, thoughts on that?
I'm sorry. I didn't get dinner, so I've been secretly eating.
You just didn't
all
pay
of this.
attention to anything I just said.
No, I paid attention. I hate the Sarah McLachlan ad, but I'm okay with donating money to little animals, little defenseless naked animals. We
Yeah.
need to buy them clothes.
We need to buy them clothes. Jack.
Every time I see a Labrador out there without pants on, it makes me physically ill. And we need to buy those dogs pants.
At least a lab coat at minimum.
That's a bit stereotyping, don't you think?
Well, no. Well, that's why they're named labs, because of the coats they wear.
That is fair.
Yeah. Jack Neiman, the liberal destroyer, says, "What's up, liberal?" Then he says, "Tony, what? WT are your thoughts on the 64 Classic?" I think what Reggie said before he left was correct. I think that they're utilized as stopgap systems between systems. So I think when the Switch starts winding down, maybe in like 3 years, they'll probably knock out another one. Maybe longer, considering they're about to release. There's been leaks. Well, I think it's been confirmed that they're going to be doing a mini and a more powerful version, but in the next year or two. But
the mini, there are photos of it that are out that are legit.
So I think that it might be a while before we see anything like that, if we see it at all. I think that they were sort of specific, unique to their time. They served a business purpose. I think for us as gamers, we're like, hey, we got this, and now we need this, and now we need this, and now we need this. Whereas as a company, they're more like, we have the Wii U, and we have the Switch, and we have nothing in between, so we're going to fill it. Okay, good, now we have the Switch. So it's like we're like releasing content and like filling our coffers with money, during low sales durations, or sales times. I don't think it's really a priority for them, to be 100% honest. But that said, let's go ahead and get started with... John, were you going to say something?
No, just trying to desperately muffle a lot of belches.
Oh, well, that's...
I don't want this to turn into some weird ASMR fetish video where I'm just belching in the back.
I love that, John, I love you. The stuff, the thing is
click my nails on the microphone a whole bunch and then be like, "What do you guys think? How you doing?"
Yeah, you know what's funny?
Great job. How are you?
It's funny because it's like, although I appreciate you're not just belching into the microphone, which is obviously no one wants to really hear. Although probably some of these guys do. It's like the fact that you're so actively trying and discussing that, I find strangely hilarious.
Because it's funny to talk about not trying to belch directly into the mic. Much funnier than it is to actually just belch directly into the mic.
That's true. I mean, you're definitely not wrong.
Pick your battles.
It's a topic of conversation too, because we're just talking about. Look at this guy, Jack Nealman, the liberal destroyer. Hey, Nick. His next comment is MAGA. Oh my goodness. Anyways, they're just talking about MAGA stuff. Just old #MAGA stuff. Anyways, let's get started. We're talking about the Sega Genesis Mini.
Over to that.
And actually, I found it interesting that the Mini was what the nickname was for the NES Mini, the SNES Mini, but it really was called the SNES Classic, NES Classic. They're actually officially calling their system the Mini, and there was some concern about this initially because they had released sort of mini systems in the past through AtGames, which is basically just garbage, garbage beyond garbage. I mean, if you have never experienced the games before and you plugged it in, maybe you'd be like, oh yeah, these are fun. But if you had even played them once, you would be like, okay, everything seems and feels off here. Not to mention cheap design.
I have heard those AtGames systems aren't as bad if you plug in the original controllers, but those wireless controllers are just hopeless.
Yeah, there's a couple things you can fix like that. Other stuff like the emulation and the sound being really off and weird, there's no helping it. So
yeah.
Everyone was very scared, that they were gonna, work with AtGames on this, and turns out they terminated their partnership with At Games, at least for this, which is wonderful.
Based Sega.
Yep. So Sega Genesis Mini, I have it pulled up here. It's a miniature Sega Genesis Model 1 replica. Includes 40, they say, legendary games. Keep in mind the PS1 Classic had 20. Plug and play, da-da-da-da-da. I'm scrolling down here. It's going to come with a 3-button controller, not a 6-button. I think some people might be annoyed with that. Some people might be fine because the 6-button kind of came a little later in its life cycle, so I think most people are used to the 3. And I was, it really all comes down to the games and obviously how they're emulated, but you need a good selection of games. And I think one of the biggest things with the PS1 Classic, aside from the PAL region games and this, and like the games on the PS1 Classic were kind of like, oh, well, here's a couple classics. Here's a bunch of ones that have you like really scratching your head being like, why are these on here? Like, what?
Yeah.
This isn't even a good game. But everything...
The only one that I really, really wanted to be on the PS1 Classic was Armored Core, and that was only the Japanese.
Really?
So that was like the only one that was on the list where it's like, oh, shit, yeah, hell yeah, I'm a huge fan of those games. Oh, I'm not getting it. Thanks,
Yeah.
Sony.
The one that I really wanted was LSD, Lovely Sweet Dreams.
Yeah,
so we could
that-
feel like we're on
that's a
LSD.
wacky one.
Of course, that would never come out. But anyways, I have the list pulled up so you all can look at it. We have Echo the Dolphin, Castlevania Bloodline, Space Harrier 2, Shining Force, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I'm kind of like whatever with that one, but I know some people like it. Toe Jam and Earl, Comic Zone, Sonic the Hedgehog, Altered Beast. I don't see anything, nor have ever seen anything special about Altered Beast, but I think it is a must include because it was like it was a launch. A lot of people love Altered Beast.
People are extremely nostalgic for Space Harrier and Altered Beast.
Yeah, Altered Beast I think is a bad game, but whatever. but people love
the
it.
arcade
though.
machine is way better. But,
Even then, I find it to be simplistic, but who cares? Whatever. I concede that point because I think a lot of people just like eat up Altered Beast. But regardless, let me know in the comments whether you think
Gunstar Heroes.
Yeah,
I'm very
Gunstar.
happy about. That's
yeah.
a real good game.
2 Mickey Mouse games, which are both solid. Thunder Force 3 was one of the first shooters I ever played on the Genesis, and it's fantastic. Me and Richie used to play that back in the day, right after college. Fantasy Zone, which is a cute 'em up. Shinobi
that's a good
3,
one.
Streets of Rage 2 is a classic. Earthworm Jim, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is obviously a must include. I'm assuming they'll probably include the other Sonic games as well. Contra Hardcore, awesome. Landstalker, awesome. So far, like pretty much with the exception of like Mean Bean Machine, and for me personal, just because of my taste, Altered Beast, everything on here, and Fantasy Zone's okay-ish, is like fantastic. Like these games are wonderful. Like these are all like excellent.
I'm betting the next 20 are all Madden. And that what is it? The Great Holes game.
Oh yeah, like Fred Couples 32 Great Holes or whatever for the 32X.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was I'm curious to see what the next 20 are. Very curious. As you can see, it says, more to come soon, et cetera, pre-order today. I know they're not going to do this, but I would just totally fall in love if they threw in a couple 32X games, because you never see those re-released, really. And then, a couple Sega CD games, because regardless of how you dice it, the Sega CD was a big part of the, Genesis history. I'd love to see Sonic CD on there. I'd love to see a couple other, the classic or like well-renowned Sega CD titles. If they had like a Lunar for the Sega CD on that thing, like people would eat it up. Being like an expensive, pricey RPG. A couple 32X titles would be great, but they won't.
There's a lot of emulators that do a really, really good job with both Genesis and Sega CD.
Mm.
All the ones I see that also do 32X don't do 32X terribly well. They do it pretty well, but like, everything like Genesis and Sega CD are like cycle accurate. And to be honest, all the really, really good stuff is on those two platforms. There's a couple on 32X that are good. That Afterburner on 32X.
Yeah, Afterburner was
the
fantastic.
Best home Afterburner we ever got.
Yeah. It really was, because it was arcade perfect with the exception of the frame rate. That was the only thing that was different. And they had Space Harrier on the 32X, and that was amazing. Virtual Racer for the 32X was solid. Virtual Fighter was a really good game on the 32X. There's a lot of really good stuff there. I mean, let me backtrack. There was some really good stuff on the 32X. There wasn't a lot because there weren't a lot of games in general. But even if they don't include any 32X or Sega CD games, which I'm pretty sure they won't, this lineup is solid as hell. And there's nothing wrong if they knock out the next 20, just knock them out of the park. In terms of the titles that they have here. And obviously, they're trying to get these specific licensed games like the Disney stuff, which is awesome. Because a lot of times I feel like with the PlayStation Classic, they didn't even bother to try to do anything like that. It seems like they're really trying here. And if they knock it out of the park, I will, all will be forgiven without at games history and all that crap, because this is solid. Really solid stuff.
I just hope that the actual hardware is decent.
Yes, well, obviously that'll be a big thing too. Big thing too.
Wait, how many of these are any of these Konami?
Yeah, Contra is Konami.
Yeah, Contra.
What else do we have here?
So there's hope.
Castlevania
Contra,
is Konami.
Hardcore, yeah.
Castlevania, Contra. I don't see any other. Is Shinobi Konami? I can't remember.
No, I think that was Sega.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. But you got some Treasure stuff. You got some Konami stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, these are, I mean, again, this is solid as hell. I'm expecting the remaining, Shinobi is not Konami, says somebody. But yeah, anyways, I'm expecting the remaining, like, Sonic titles, like, probably your Spinball, your Sonic 3, your Sonic and Knuckles, that kind of thing to be on here.
Bubsy.
Definitely some
they
Bubsy.
Gotta have Bubsy.
Every Bubsy game. Every Bubsy game. Honestly, you got to have every Bubsy game. So
how amazing would that be if every single remaining one was just Bubsy?
What if it was just alternating Bubsy and Madden, Bubsy, Madden, Bubsy, Madden. And then because there weren't, keep in mind that it was like Madden. There weren't that many Madden games for the Genesis, and that there were only three Bubsy games. But what if they just on the menu just had three Bubsy games, three Madden games, and then the same three over again, and the same three over again. It was just nothing but Bubsy and Madden, just to really dig into the fans
if they really, really wanted to annoy us, they'd have to be like, by the way, you can only pre-order this on the Epic Game Store.
Yeah, exactly. You can only pre-order physical hardware on the Epic Game Store. So let's talk real quick about the PlayStation Classic, which of course is old news, but I was at Meijer the other day, and for those of you that are not aware, Meijer is it's sort of like a Target. It has a larger grocery section than Target, though. Kind of like a Walmart, but even a larger grocery section than Walmart does. And it is a store that started on the west side of Michigan, and then it's spread throughout a good chunk of the Midwest. I think, but they only have 200 locations. Anyways, point is that everyone knows. Well, I think it's actually 270, which is actually pretty good for a mega store, but it's nothing like Target. Actually, pardon me 1 second. I think
Walmart, but good. Yeah, that's the best way.
Yeah, Walmart, but yeah, actually, Meijer actually has some really good craft beer releases too. They do a really good job of working with everyone, all the local craft brewers. I still have this wired connection on, so I actually am going for a Kleenex, but I'm still plugged in. It's great. I have so much leeway. I could go piss in the corner if I wanted to. No one would know. Sorry, my nose got a little runny there. Pardon me.
That's what we need. Bubsy Chaotix.
Oh, somebody do that ROM hack.
Somebody in the chat.
Somebody do that ROM
Bubsy
hack.
And Knuckles. Bubsy and Friends and Knuckles. So yeah, Bubsy Chaotix.
If someone were to do a ROM hack that was Bubsy Chaotix, my life would be complete. It would be amazing. Anyways, point is months ago, I was at Meijer and I saw in the electronics section the PlayStation Classic, originally $99.99, and again we talked a little bit about the PlayStation Classic earlier, but they only included 20 games.
Booger Man. Yeah.
Many of them were PAL region, so they ran slower than the NTSC counterparts. The selection in general was subpar, a slim selection. What else? The interface, high price tag. Interface was very basic. It was just sort of like a low effort affair for a lot of cash. So I saw it reduced to $49.99, and I'm like, I'm still not going to buy it for $50. And then apparently now, if you search it, there'll be ads for like Best Buy and a lot of the other major retailers for $39.99. So, $40 essentially. So, you've hacked $60 off the price tag at that point. But at $39.99, I'm still not really thinking it's worth it, even as like occasionally play the games that are an NTSC and a nice like shelf piece. So I'm wondering, I wanted to ask you guys in the comments, and also ask you, John, obviously, at what price point do you think the PlayStation Classic becomes worth it? And if anyone in the comment section has already purchased a PlayStation Classic, let us know at what price point you had purchased it at, and whether you're happy with your decision. Because would be curious to see so.
For me, I think I would say as soon as that thing gets to $25, worth it.
Think so? Why?
Yeah, that's. I've heard good things about modding it. A lot of people seem to be really interested in what they could get out of it, and like something where you could actually get a decent video signal out, and you could actually play some of those really rare games. That'd be pretty sweet. Like, what's Persona 2? Like $100? Like, I've got Suikoden 1, which is like, I don't know, 45 or something like that, complete in box right now.
Yeah.
But the Suikoden 2 complete in box is over $100 now. And it's like,
So it's like a modding machine, basically.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you wouldn't think of like doing that on like a Raspberry Pi. You'd rather do it on the PS.
Well, I mean, you can do it on a Raspberry Pi, but if I'm going to do it on a Raspberry Pi, I'd rather just actually do it on my actual computer because it's way, way more powerful.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was thinking, I don't know if this is unfair, but I think that it was such a low effort affair on their part that I was kind of thinking like $19.99 would be my would be my let's get it, because I think it would look nice on the shelf. The hardware looks nice. There are a couple games I would like to play on it, but like other like the other like half of the games are PAL, so it's like I'd be playing them and I would just know it'd be digging into the back of my head that it would be like, well, these aren't running properly.
Yeah, they'd play a little weird. You'd notice occasional like weird hiccups, and what the hell were they thinking?
I don't know. I think it was. I don't think they were thinking. I think they were thinking they would just do a cash in, which is weird because like you think of normally their regular home consoles are very well put together. I mean, there's
Maybe they gave it to an intern.
yeah, it was like a weird project they just had somebody work on. I don't know. Someone says in the comments, Zero Christian says it's worth $40 if you mod it, but if you don't mod it, it's not even worth $20. That's why I said $19.99. That's 1 cent lower than $20.
Because then 2000, oops, out of time.
Out of time. Steve H hits us up with a super chat. Thank you very much, Steve H, for $2. We appreciate it. Pumpkin pie is greater than Raspberry Pi.
Oh. I would agree.
Yeah.
I like pie.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a hot take. I don't like cake though. Pie is pretty good.
John, I love cake. Love me some cake. I mean, I do think pie
ended.
I do think pie is better. But and I do think
as long as you acknowledge its supremacy.
Yeah. And I do think that cake can be done poorly more easily than pie can be done poorly. Because I've had some generic cakes, and yeah, I've had generic pies, but I still like the generic pies better than the generic cakes. I feel like a generic cake is just kind of like okay, nothing like that special about it. But I've also had cakes that have blown me out of the friggin' water and were just fantastic in terms of their flavor and like their layering and their design. It's just like, whoa, this is like I've had the amazing cakes I've had have been better than the best pies. But I do think that on average pies are better than cakes. Let's just put it that way. That's my hot pie take.
I think there's a good super chat for you there.
Oh,
Also, I just wanted to let people in the chat know that it's okay that you think cake is better. It's okay to be wrong.
well,
It's
John,
okay.
you know what, John? Easy for you to say as a disembodied ghost voice. Here I am speaking my heart out, showing my real face. You know,
Yeah,
and talking about my.
Novorossiya. I have heard of the town in Michigan called Hell, and I've lived like, I don't know, 45 minutes from it my entire life, and it's been one of those things where I just keep thinking, yeah, I should go check that out some point, and then I just don't.
Yeah,
And it's been 32 years of doing that.
we have a couple weird town names. We have a Christmas Michigan as
Oh,
well.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there many times.
Talker, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Very helpful. I came here because TMZ reported Tony was going to tat Bubsy on his face. What the the F? WTF? Did they lie to me? No, I'm going to do that after the show. I'm actually going to have John tatted on my face, just freehand with his left hand. And if you've seen his handwriting, you could just imagine what his illustrations would look like. And then switch that over to his left hand, and basically it'll just be like a child scribbling. Um, which, to be fair, isn't that far off from how I draw. So, I don't know how to pronounce that because it looks like Russian characters. John, do you know how to? You used to know Russian.
Yeah, that was the guy I responded to earlier. That's Novorossiya.
Oh, okay. Novorossiya says you boys from Detroit. We're from the Detroit area. So, like, I work in Detroit. I live close to Detroit, but not actually in Detroit. John's a little further north than me, but still considered Metro Detroit, which is like a large bubble around the city of Detroit. It includes a ton of different cities and large area. It's kind of a big geographical space. Um, so, not Detroit, the city proper, but it's a lot easier to tell someone that you are from Detroit when you're already working in Detroit and you're near Detroit than some obscure tiny little suburb of Detroit that no one's heard of. So when I go out of town, I'm basically say like Detroit, Metro Detroit, that kind of thing.
Yes, I'm from a small part of Cat's Ash, Michigan. So
Yeah, it's like most people are like, it was funny because my dad. Am I sweating? Well, no,
probably.
that's just shadows. Oh no, it is sweat. Damn, I'm falling apart over here. Look at this, guys. This
Everybody
pit's
type
fine.
sweaty Tony in the
Ooh,
chat.
I'm really out of sorts today from drinking so much last night. But the thing is, I really didn't. I had a couple, and then I cooled it down, actually, and then I had like just sips because Bill came over. But then like I woke up today, I haven't showered. I'm like sweaty. I'm like disgusting. I don't know. I've had like cold sweats all day. I don't know what's going on. But actually, it was really good. It was unrelated. Sometimes I like the taste of beer. And Eric was over last night, and he brought what is it, Lagunitas? Lagunitas. It has this stuff called
Yeah.
hoppy water, and it's basically
Yeah.
just water that tastes like hops, and it kind of tricks your taste buds into thinking you're having a beer, but it's just water. 0 calories, zero sugar, zero, no alcohol whatsoever. And I'm like, this is actually really good. I actually really liked it. So I was gonna go grab some more today
Yeah,
or
that stuff's
tomorrow.
not bad.
And
Lagunitas makes some pretty good stuff.
yeah, they mostly like really focus on like hoppy stuff, but I've heard really good things about them as a brewery. And Anna obviously she doesn't drink because she's pregnant, so she was like she had one of those, and she's like, wow, this is actually good. Like it's like I kind of scratches that itch for a beer. But when I can't have a beer because I'm pregnant. I mean, technically she could have a beer, but she just doesn't want to. I mean, you can like have a cup of wine or a glass of wine or something when you're pregnant, but she just avoids it altogether just to be safe and to avoid the temptation.
I was gonna agree with Talker in the chat. Pacifico is amazing beer.
Yeah, Pacifico's good. If you like Mexican beer, it's refreshing. It's a good summer beer, I'd say. It's a couple notches above like a Corona, so long as it's not skunky like a Corona gets. Unless I think of something else.
Right.
He's saying that Pacifico is my favorite IPA. Pacifico I've had is like a Mexican lager. I think we might be on.
It might just be that they don't sell some of the other Pacifico in our area.
Oh, okay. That could be true, yeah, because I've only ever had the lager.
God knows they make enough IPAs and stouts in our area
already. Yeah, oh my god. Like
it's to the point where I'm actually I now think I hate stouts and IPAs slightly.
Yeah.
Because they're just overdone. And it's like every time there's like a new drink, then I'm like, oh, hey, that local brewery I like. And I just drink it and I'm like,
Yeah.
this tastes like the last 7 things you guys make. You just made
Yeah,
it heavier.
you run into a lot of that. There have been a lot of releases recently, like the Dragon's Milk Triple Mash is like a 17% stout. I haven't been able to find it. It was only released yesterday. And then M43 did a, or Old Nation did their their M43 hazy New England style IPA. They did a strawberry tart version. So I went out, found a couple of them. It was really good, but they're often just like variants, like little adjustments here and there. But yesterday was funny because like we had some, and after you have like a couple drinks, like you just don't feel like drinking anymore. Bill came over with like these really expensive, like 3 year, 4 year aged stouts, and Bill's doesn't often like refrigerate his beer or cool it. So they're more flavorful, but they're boozier tasting. Because a lot of them, when you cool it down, they get a little less flavorful, but they're a little bit less boozy, so they're a little more palatable. And it was just like midnight, and he like poured me like this taster of a stout, and I was just like, having so much trouble with it because it was delicious, but it was like so boozy. And it's like when you're tired and you don't feel like drinking anymore, and you're just like, oh, like just and like someone's like, hey, this 12-ounce bottle cost me $30. And it's like, so it's like, it cost him $30 for this 12-ounce bottle. So the amount I'm drinking is like $10 for it. So I don't want to like, insult him and like just throw away $10 worth of his beer. Yeah, Two Hearted is good. Bell's Two Hearted is in Kalamazoo, Michigan. They're
Yeah,
like,
that's good stuff.
yeah, there's it's a good was it a pale or an IPA? I can't remember. I had one the other day for the first time in like 10 years. Um, anyways, maybe we should move on to our next topic. We got
Well,
really sidetracked here.
before we do that, Tony, one of these days we should go over to Griffin Claw because it's so near us.
Yeah.
And they have a Mexican lager that they do there that is amazing, and it's hilarious because they keep bragging about how it's their lightest beer,
Yeah.
yet it still has quite a lot of taste to it,
Yeah.
and it's still like 5.75%.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, Griffin Claw's
They're
a
like,
heavier.
yeah, very very light beer, very light beer, and it's like 1% below anything else.
Yeah.
It's not like 2.1% or something like that.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Shorts is a Northern Michigan brewery. They have a lot of good distribution, and they have a lot of really tasty beers. Their Shorts Locals Light is like not really a light beer. It's just lighter than their other beers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like
You don't need like a knife to cut off pieces of it.
yeah, exact. Well, I belong to all these different like Facebook, local Detroit, like craft beer enthusiast like groups on Facebook, and it was like, they occasionally get these memes where it's like, hey, yeah, we have this new beer and we have like cinnamon and sugar and we're brewed with some raisins and this and that, and we reduce the amount of sugar, like water in it, so essentially it's just a cake. And we are now a bakery. So it's like, exactly. Everclear 1102 says, hey, Tony, great to see you on Untapped. Cheers. Yeah, I am getting addicted to Untapped. It's where you can log and rate your beers. So yeah, if you guys want to look me up, I couldn't think of a good name, so my username is beerhead. So just like a beer head, and you'll find me. You could friend me on Untapped, and we can share our ratings. And I always like to see what people I know have rated things. Have rated their beers and such, and see what people have tried. And it's nice too because you get so many craft beers that it's like, well, I don't know if I'll ever see this again. And you also are like, I don't know if I'll ever remember the name, So you could log them, and it's really easy to do so. You just scan the barcode, and you're like, you can always go back and be like, what was that one? Oh, yeah, okay. And then get some information on it, find out when it's being released and whatever. So, little shout out to Untapped there. So let's go ahead and move on to the Capcom Home Arcade unit that was announced. We did not do H4G Gaiden. Oopsie doodle, what am I doing here? I'm trying to move this. We didn't do H4G Gaiden a week or two ago because it was Easter, so we're a little bit behind on the news cycle right now, so you'll have to forgive us.
Oh, Peggy rating.
Yeah, well, yeah, most of the commercials I see are like Peggy, like they're European. But anyways, so for those of you that are not aware, I'm going to play this just without sound, but, big thing these days for your kind of more professional level and just enthusiast gamers, for arcade gamers and for like fighting games, Street Fighter, whatever, you want to get like an arcade stick. Like that's how you're supposed to play it. It's a nice high quality arcade stick, and they're normally like in the $200 range or more. John, what are your? Am I correct on that? You see more of them at Retrotaku and are probably more familiar with that than I am, in terms of
Yeah, a
like
little
nice
bit.
arcade sticks. How much
I
do they
mean,
cost normally?
the DAC guys would probably know the most about that, but I'd say like a really good arcade stick, you're spending at least like 150.
Yeah, and that's just a one player, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is two, and obviously, which makes sense because you want to be able to play with a friend. A lot of these are like fighting games or beat 'em ups or whatever, two-player arcade titles, and so basically they're releasing this thing, and it's an arcade stick, two-player arcade stick. I'm assuming obviously you'd have to like put it on a table like you would with most arcade sticks, and you'd have to have a long enough table to fit it because it's for two people. But it is the funkiest design in that it's an arcade stick that's like the Capcom logo, right?
Yeah, a
And
little bit narcissistic there. Well, just a
well,
little bit.
yeah, I mean, I give them credit for trying to do something different.
Vain.
They have clear, yeah, they have clear buttons, right? And it looks real slick. I've heard like some people complain that based on the position of certain buttons in this 3D rendering, like your hand would be in one of the grooves of the letters, which would be uncomfortable. But at the same time,
Yeah.
like I just got in this arcade. I don't know if I have enough cord space here, but I got in this arcade stick for the Virtual Boy, and this was handcrafted, handmade. Um, and I don't think arcade sticks are really meant to be comfortable. I mean, they're fun to play and they're responsive, but they are like normally squares. So it's not like they're built with armrests. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how much I buy into the whole like it won't be comfortable to play because regardless, even if it was a rectangle, you'd still be leaning your like either your hands over it or your forearms on it, digging into the corners. Like no matter what would happen, I think you kind of wouldn't win. Um, John, do you have any thoughts on that in terms of the shape, other than it being vain?
It definitely looks like one would be more comfortable to play on than the other, but I am very happy that what's it? Alien versus Predator
Yeah,
is finally getting a home release. That's nice.
yeah. So
More people will be able to play Giga Wing. That's pretty cool.
yeah, so one of the really nice things about this, kind of quarterback or piggybacking on what you were saying, is that the draw of this, aside from the fact that it's like a professional quality and professional build arcade stick, is the fact that there are 16 games, and some of them have not seen home releases. And so I think people are particularly excited about it. One of them was that Alien vs Predator game that John had mentioned. So let's see here. It has 19 or 9. What is this? Is it 944 or 1944? Loop Master.
1944.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alien vs
that's a
Predator,
fun one.
Armored Warriors, Capcom Sports Club, Captain Commando, Cyberbots, Darkstalkers, Eco Fighters, Final Fight, Ghouls and Ghosts, Giga Wing, as you previously mentioned, Mega Man, the Power Battle, which essentially is just kind of like a boss rush sort of thing with Mega Man, Pro Gear, Street Fighter 2, Strider, which of course classic, and then Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, which is the basically a puzzle game. And sorry, someone was trying to blow up my phone.
Which I found it weird that they have Street Fighter 2, but not Street Fighter 2 Turbo or Street Fighter 2 Super Turbo.
Yeah,
But they do have Puzzle Fighter Super Turbo.
yeah, it is strange. BW in the comments says this Capcom arcade looks cool. How many games? Game list available. Yes. So you can go online and get the full list if you missed what I had just mentioned here, but they do have the game list available. It's about $249 in terms of the price tag, which
Woo.
yeah, I don't know. Like on the one hand, it's like you're getting a professional quality arcade stick that's two players, which is like, well, that's really cool. On the other hand, unless potentially modded in the future, it is limited to 16 games, which you could definitely get a lot of fun out of. But
You better
it's
love those games.
yeah, there's a Wi-Fi connection for leaderboards, so I'm assuming probably what they'll do is they'll probably try to nickel and dime you in the future for other games, right? It might be kind of like like a Epic Store or Steam sort of thing, but with Capcom, they might have new releases, and then you can maybe download them.
Yeah, and you can only buy the hardware on the Epic Store.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So, I mean, I'm assuming that they'll probably do something like that. I feel like they probably should have upped the number of games. Maybe added like at least another 5 or so. Or rounded it off to
Yeah,
20, like another 4, and then you could say, yeah, there's 20 classic Capcom games, and Lord knows they have a huge library. I don't think that would have been that difficult. I feel like bumping up the number of games would have made that 249 price tag sting a little bit less. I don't know, John. What do you think would have made this thing a little more worth it for the dollar value, or in terms of the dollar value?
uh, I'm suspecting a lot of it's the actual like parts in there, and it
Yeah.
isn't so much the games. Because like, if those are actual good arcade parts, yeah, those can be pricey, and the stuff that goes in there. Yeah, I'm gonna wait until I actually see somebody's hands-on reaction because it would not shock me, given the amount of like missteps some of these things occasionally have,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh yeah, like this thing, it's advertising on Amazon.co.uk. It's what, £200?
Yeah, so it's about
Like, I'm not,
240,
I'm not.
249 US money.
Ooh,
Bless you.
whoo! Yeah, I'm not willing to just bet like £200
Yeah.
that this thing's gonna be good.
I'd hope. I'd hope. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think we'll have to see. This is obviously a 3D rendering in the trailer.
Yeah, pretty
So,
obvious.
yeah.
Wonder what it's gonna look like in person.
Yeah, so what it looks like in person, whether it keeps the same look and design, we'll see. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to buy it for $249. It's not worth it to me. I did get this Virtual Boy arcade thing because it functions as a solid power source to your Virtual Boy, which is nice, which is one of the main flaws of the controller. It's handmade, super unique, and the guy wasn't making anymore. This is the last one he made, and I kind of bought it with the intention of showing off to you guys, so it kind of has that purpose to it. So I kind of a little bit of a hypocrite saying I wouldn't buy that, but I'd buy this. But like, I'd rather buy a handmade, like really niche item than something like that, just because like I don't know if I'll get my bang for the buck in terms of the games, I suppose.
Yeah.
But then you could be like, well, you're gonna get your bang for the buck with Virtual Boy games. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm torn, just like that song, "Torn," that my mom used to say. Why is she naked on the floor? She would say, and turn it off. Little did she know it was a metaphor.
Wait, there's metaphor in music?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, you learn new shit every day.
That's right. That's right. Have you noticed I'm trying to keep my arms down because of my armpit sweat?
Everybody type "sweaty Tony" in the chat.
Sweaty
again.
Tony, sweaty Tony. Yeah, no, every once in a while. Lately, I've been really sweaty with the weather change. Like I've occasionally, like once a week, I'll go out and do like meetings at various offices for my work. And lately, I don't know if it's just because of the weather change, I've been like super sweaty and like smelly. So I've been bringing like extra deodorant. So like, which is weird because normally it's not a problem whatsoever. I'm not like a sweaty dude. I put on a little deodorant, boom, at the beginning of the day. Not even antiperspirant. I haven't used antiperspirant for years because I stopped needing it. But just the last month.
Well, guess we know what you're going to be buying again.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe it's just the pressures of a pregnant wife finally have gotten to me, and my psyche has just been destroyed.
We have a question. What's our favorite arcade game? And I would say pretty much every time I'm down at Offworld in Detroit, even though it's a complete quarter eater, I do love Smash TV.
Smash TV is a lot of fun. That's hard to say. I mean, I love the X-Men game just because it's good. It's stupid fun. It gets boring after a while, but it's fun for the first it's a lot of fun for about 20 minutes, I guess. NBA Jam. Back in the day, I used to love Area 51, which is like sort of like a House of the
Yeah,
Dead style
that's a
shooter.
fun one.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I was never really super into fighting games. I'll play them once in a while, but yeah, mostly just sort of like your run and gun, House of the Dead shooter type stuff. I really enjoyed. Beat 'em ups are fun. I'm trying to think what else. I play Afterburner quite a bit at
Yeah, that was a good
Pinball
one.
Pete's. They had like the full setup that you'd like get into it. Um,
Oh yeah. Also, that game had an awesome soundtrack.
yeah, so that was fun. The only problem is after a while at Pinball Pete's, I don't know if they ever fixed it, but the screen started getting all sorts of monitors started getting all sorts of issues, and
Yeah.
so I was kind of sad.
Well, I think
Um,
the guy who used to do a lot of their arcade repair now works for Round One,
okay.
and they fly him all over the country.
Oh, okay.
Actually, last time I talked to one of his coworkers, he was in Japan at the time.
Really? Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, either way, let us know in the comments below whether this is the Capcom home arcade is something that you would be interested in. I think it's a pass for me, but I definitely could see if you are a fighting stick enthusiast, I think that this could be up your alley. You're probably used to playing that price point for this type of stuff, and you know being like a one-off thing might be a nice little collector's item. I'm keeping that trailer above my armpit level so you guys can't see if I'm sweaty. Oh god, I am still. Yeah. Maybe I'm just sweating out the booze. I'm just so surprised. I didn't really drink very much last night. Anyways, John, do you judge me?
Everybody type sweaty Tony in the chat if you think Tony's a lightweight.
So, moving on here. So, some more details came out regarding the Nintendo Labo systems in terms of the VR. Some people actually got to play and I believe purchase. I'm assuming it came out because people were telling me they played it, so they must have come out. But the VR for Breath of the Wild and Mario. And basically, you're holding the Switch to your head like this. And Melon Speedrun said that because we had mentioned before that like the Breath of the Wild experience, I didn't understand it. I was like, this isn't VR, and they're like, no, you're the camera. Like, oh no, it's gonna be so great. And everything I've read about it in terms of reviews said it's nauseating. And Melon Speedruns on our Discord said he caused him to vomit. Like straight up caused him to vomit because he had just eaten recently and it's so floaty and like all over the place that he just straight up puked.
Yeah, motion tracking in VR needs to be extremely good for most people. Like when we did that live stream with Dan, and it was having some glitches. Like if we went back, I think he plays for like 5 minutes and then doesn't reappear in the stream for 2 hours
Yeah, because
because he was in my bathroom throwing up for 2 hours.
Yeah, it was just like
And it's like I had never felt motion sickness before.
yeah.
Nothing had ever managed to get me motion sick, and I felt like the tiniest little twinge at one point.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, if this can do that to me, whew.
Yeah. And you got to
And that was just lag causing bad head tracking.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I guess I shouldn't say funny, but it's interesting that Dan he's a rally car driver. Like he's a race.
Yeah, but
he races.
he can't co-pilot because then he isn't looking out and he's just looking at the sheet. So it's all about like usually he has to drive if you're driving a car, otherwise he'll get motion sick very quickly. It's like the frame of reference gets lost.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is that he races his vehicles, and a simulation of racing his vehicles because it's VR made him sick. So it's like something's wrong with him, but with
it's because of the way it was lagging in its head tracking. You'd turn and it would turn a little bit late, or it would judder and stuff like that. So it was like it was emulating weird shaky stuff that wasn't actually happening, and it like to me it just felt like I was really really drunk.
Yeah.
But I eventually just learned to cope with it and kind of deal with the slack it was giving me.
Oh, but
and he could not. He gets really bad
yeah.
motion sickness.
Real quick, want to read a comment regarding my deodorant situation. Barney15 says
Sweaty
strong.
Tony.
Yeah, says strong enough for a man, but pH balanced for a Tony. I thought that was pretty clever. You know, like strong enough for a man, but made for a woman. Used to be their like secret slogan, but now it's just strong enough for a woman because strong enough for a man, but made for a woman was, I guess, too sexist. I suppose. I don't know. Any whoosins. So basically, from the reviews that I've read, the Mario VR is faring a lot better. It's kind of like you're kind of like this your center almost, and like Mario, you control him like around you, so it's almost like he's sort of a RC car. Whereas
Oh, neat.
in Breath of the Wild, you're this moving, floating camera that just makes everyone nauseous, and it just also really dates Breath of the Wild because. Like you're looking at this sort of low resolution screen that then halves the resolution for each eye. It kind of has the Virtual Boy problem, right? So the Virtual Boy was 32-bit, but it couldn't really do virtual reality because it had to take that processing power and split it between two screens. So really, you get, we mentioned our review that no one watched, more of an arcade experience with the with the Virtual Boy, because they were like, well, we can't really do virtual reality because the games they did produce that were like that kind of were like, eh. So they kind of made sort of like arcade games. So it's kind of like really like a mini arcade unit, more than anything. Hence the arcade stick. But regardless, it kind of shows the Switch's flaws, I think. So maybe when they release that more powerful Switch, if the unit itself, not plugged into the dock, has at least like a 1080 resolution, native resolution, I think it probably wouldn't fare as poorly as a 720 resolution that's been split, because essentially you're just dealing with standard definition at that time, per eye.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. John, did you read anything about this, or is it mostly just new to you?
I mean, we did talk about it a little bit last time,
Yeah.
but I haven't been able to keep up with it. I was out of town down in Atlanta, which was beautiful and in the 70s and 80s every day, and there were actually leaves on the trees. It
Yeah.
actually looked like it was spring outside instead of just, what is it, 50 and looks like butt outside right now.
Well, the flowers in my yard are blooming. It looks pretty nice
Oh,
over
that's
here.
nice.
Real quick story regarding John's vacation. So I was picking up a Sega Saturn from his house, and I was going to just kind of check on the yard and stuff. But it had been raining, so I didn't really have to do any like watering or anything, and I didn't want to overwater. So I show up, and his garage door is open. But I'm supposed to be opening the garage door myself because he had hidden a garage door opener around. But the garage door is open, so I'm like, okay, John's parents are back, and I ring the doorbell, all this stuff. No one answers. I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. So I'm like, John, are your parents back? He's like, I don't know, because he was, on the trail. I'm like, here's the car that's in the garage. Your garage door is open. He's like, oh, that's my car. And I'm like, is someone in John's house? So I'm like, I've already announced my presence by ringing the doorbell. So I go in and I like sneak into every room and like are opening like doors like slowly with my hand first and then peering in. It was like stealth. Like I was like,
Just making yourself look as much like a thief as possible.
well, that's the thing. I didn't know if someone was in your house. I wasn't sure if someone was like robbing you, which I really doubted it. But if there was, I wanted to be as quiet as possible and like not like really announce that I was coming into each room. So like I basically did like a full sweep of John's house, like looking for a possible intruder. And then like there was nothing, and I was just like, okay, everything's fine. So because I was like, oh my god, like there could be someone in here, that's not supposed to be in here. This could be a problem. So I messaged John back. I'm like, everything's good, everything's fine. He's like, oh yeah, it's probably just our cleaner left it open. I'm like, yeah, probably, but it was just sort of like this weird situation where it was like SWAT team going in there, but it was just me.
Tony
And
would have sneakily walked into the room and been like, nobody's in here. And then the actual thief with a gun would be like, aha, but I was.
buddy, well, then it would have been showdown. I would have been dead, but hey, whatever. Um, I do have to say this though, John. Your house was like beautifully cleaned, but your room is a friggin' mess, man. Pull it together.
Oh, Oh,
Pull it
that's
together,
because I
John.
was I had to pull apart all these different boxes to get all of my camping
Uh-huh.
kit. And as
Uh-huh.
is per usual, I pack at the very last minute,
Yeah.
and then I look and I'm like, oh, yeah, fuck it, I'll deal with it when I
It
get
was just
back.
nothing but cords just on the ground, like strewn everywhere. Either way, I'm glad that there was no one in your house. I closed up shop over there, met his woodchuck friend that lives in his backyard, and it was all good at the end of the day. So it was all a perfectly fine adventure. So we have a Patreon question from William. John, you ready for this?
Yes,
He
yes.
says, are easy games, i.e., Yoshi's Crafted World, Kirby games, etc., worth your time, or do you only play challenging games?
Uh, there are some that I enjoy that aren't as hard. I think it's just, do I get enjoyment out of playing them? Like, there are some games that are like stupidly easy that I've really, really enjoyed over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and other games that like I've really enjoyed Dark Souls, but I have also enjoyed a lot of games that are. I mean, a lot of RPGs, realistically, are not very hard. It's just
Hmm.
grind a bunch, then just mow everything down, then grind a bunch a little bit, then mow everything down,
Yeah.
and they really aren't often that challenging.
No. Well, yeah, it depends on the game, but yeah, I mean, if you grind normally you're okay.
Yeah,
I
you
think it's
can
the gist
just
of it.
brute force your way through a lot
Yeah.
of stuff.
Brute IPA your way through a lot of stuff too.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel semi conflicted about it. I don't really like games that are super challenging because I don't have the time to get good. You know, spelled GUD. Uh, I like games that are moderately challenging, so I feel like I had accomplished something. But at the same time, you know, if a game is addictive but easy, I think that's fine too. I think you know, the Kirby game or the Yoshi games are, you know, fun. There's a lot of exploration and stuff. Although I do remember the last Kirby game I played was Kirby's Epic Yarn. I just remember feeling like I was too old for it. I remember feeling like because you can't die in it, like I just felt like there was no consequence for any sort of mistake. You know what I mean? Like it'd be one thing to have like, oh, you have unlimited lives or unlimited continues or whatever, but not being able to die at all was sort of frustrating for being not frustrating, if that makes sense. it was
Yeah,
it was just like I was.
I do feel sometimes that the curve of going from being very weak and you don't understand how a game goes to mastering it is one of the more satisfying parts of a game.
I think so. I mean, easy to learn, hard to master. I think is a good take on gameplay.
Ugh.
It's like NBA Jam. You know, it's easy to learn, it's hard to master. That kind of thing. But it's just like I remember just kind of
Yeah.
like playing that Kirby title, and Anna enjoyed it because she likes kind of relaxing, easy walk through it games. But I was just kind of like I was just sort of floating my way through. You know, it was nothing. It didn't really satisfy me in any way. Uh oh, someone says rip. RIP the chat. Did the chat die? Is no one
It's
talking in the
just
chat?
slower right now.
Oh man, everyone's gearing up for Game of Thrones in an hour.
We've gone from 45 to 37 watching, so
Oh
yeah.
man.
I think a
Oh
lot of
man.
people are like, oh shit, I gotta go over to my friends.
Yeah, yeah, get oh well, that's fine. We're on our last topic anyways. But yeah, I think, you know, William, thank you for the interesting question. I you know would like to hear everybody's thoughts in the comments regarding this. Again, I don't think that a game has to be challenging to be good, but I do think that there has to be some the game has to push you in some way, I think. It has to give you something to strive for that
Hmm.
isn't just search the entire place, look for everything. You know what I mean? Which is kind of what the Kirby, at least that particular Kirby title did. It was kind of like, whatever. Um, Yoshi should have been a sequel to the SNES Gem without the crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Um, John, any final thoughts on that?
Uh, I feel like there's some games I'm thinking of, but I just can't remember their names right now.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Let me close. You know, if I go ahead and just make myself bigger and close out this, just Won't show off my pit sweat. Oh no, it's terrible. Oh, it's still bad, guys. Still bad. I think it's I'm gonna blame the polyester. Doesn't breathe as well as the cotton. It says 60% polyester, 40% cotton blend.
Well, cotton also does that thing where as soon as it gets sweaty, it just kind of stays wet.
Yeah, so it's the worst of both worlds. Doesn't breathe, doesn't dry.
Yeah.
So it's the shirt, guys. It's not me. It's not my sweaty Italian ass.
Disgusting, sweaty.
Oh my god. Anyways, so a couple channel announcements, guys. Before we go, we have some interesting stuff coming up. As you can see, I'm working a lot on NPDP type stuff. We have a prototype slash debug ROM of Gun, the Neversoft game. They're the same guys that did the Tony Hawk series. And this is not just a debug, it is truly a beta version of the game. Things are different, storyline is different, and I've been playing it to try to get used to it. Because a lot of times I'll get like, Tales of Symphonia we got in, it was a debug version, and I'd never played it before. But it was like kind of too much to be like, okay, I'm going to play this 60, 70, 80 hour game to try to look for differences. Instead, I'm just going to show you the debug features. And we had some people on board in that episode that, again, no one watched, but that had played the game. So it was nice. Dave Perazzo had played it. Whereas this is really just like a 6-hour campaign, and I'm halfway through it, and it's a lot of fun. It's very just Grand Theft Auto-y, but in the Old West, so I'm assuming very Red Dead-ish. Although I've never played the Red Dead series, it seems like it would be that way. So yeah, that's coming up, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's the first time we're going to be showing an active, functional NPDP cartridge on the show. Before, we had just plugged it in, and it said, hey, property of whatever, and there were no games on it. This has both memory card, emulator, and like debug stuff, software on it, on other sectors of the hard drive, but the main sector has that beta version of Gun. So I'm super excited to showcase it to you guys because it's a fun game and it's super unfinished. So I'm excited about that. John, Police Knots. Tell the people about Police Knots.
So because of the resounding success, or actually lack of success, of the Snatcher video, I was like, you know what? I like this game so much. I want to do Police Knots.
Yeah.
So I started looking into how to do that. I was like, okay, so I need to get myself a copy of Police Knots. I need to get myself a Saturn. I need to get a pseudo Saturn Kai. I need to patch a ROM. I need to do all this stuff. And a friend of mine's like, hey, I just have a Saturn with a Phoebe. And I was like, what? Oh.
Yeah.
Sweet. So Tony has that at his house right now with a light gun. I'm going to see if I can get a shuttle mouse soon so that we can do it mouse and gun, which is the way it was designed. It has a sleepy trigger button on that gun, but it's still playable. But so far it's been pretty fun. Quite fun. We'll be filming that at some point in the future. Once I get it back from Tony, I'll be playing through it again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one because Snatcher was fun. So,
and actually, that reminds me, Tony. I think I still have unused that rental of Lethal Weapon.
Oh, okay.
Tony's not seen Lethal Weapon, and that's what it's based on.
All right. Well, we'll have to figure out a day that we can do that. Let me look at my schedule. Maybe this upcoming weekend. I don't think I have anything going on.
Yeah, and I can't wait to compare and contrast the awkward things Jonathan Ingram does in the game versus the awkward things Mel Gibson has done in real life.
Oh, God. Oh, Lord. Uh-oh.
Yeah, we'd be like, oh, man, he groped that person. That's not okay. But what's Mel done since then? And it'll just be like bleep, 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 bleep. And they're like, right.
Yeah, John was telling me about this joke, and he's like, don't worry, there'll be plenty of bleeps. And I'm like, okay, just so long as there are a lot of bleeps, because we can't say any of this stuff. It's horrible.
Yeah, there's a recording that he left. I think it was one of his ex-wives recorded it, and it's him just drunk and yelling and
super racist.
Do not, for the love of God, listen to that one at work.
Yeah.
He says stuff that he'll just be like, holy shit, Mel. Like, also, he just sounds unhinged. Like, the whole time he's like, I just wanted to come home and get in the hot tub. And you're just like, okay. Um, ooh. Mel, you went a little crazy there.
Yeah, yeah, it's not good. Just leave it at that. No, not good.
You'll get to hear the heavily censored version on our channel.
Yeah, God, yeah. Well,
Oh, Tony, Greg just reminded me of something. I think at some point we should
hmm
do a final evil jamology because I
yeah.
think there's only two or three left, and it would be hilarious to be like, time to do this again. How long has it been? What do you mean 7 years?
I think we've covered all the bad NBA Jam games because we
No,
covered
no,
all.
we didn't do College Slam or
Those aren't evil slams or jams. Those are good games. College Slam's
yeah,
decent.
but we never covered it though. Like the
Okay,
spin-offs like that, like they're jams untouched.
okay. So that would be
There's
different
many
than
jars of jam.
the evil jamology because that was focusing on
Well,
bad
I think there are one or
jams.
two bad ones as
Okay.
well, but they're
Well,
untouched.
Yeah, we could do College
Scottie
Slam.
Pippen's
We never
Slam
really did
City. We
much
could go
with
with that.
Hang Time either, so that might be
Oh
something to
yeah,
lump
hang
in there.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so continuing, so we have our NPDP and gun stuff, Police Knots, which we're excited about. Nice little review of that Virtual Boy joystick right here. I'm trying to determine whether or not I just want to show this off or do an episode on like not home brew really, but if they're like homemade Virtual Boy accessories. I need a better word that for a title that's catchy, but there's like this homemade joystick. I have a homemade dust cover and it's on a homemade like 3D printed mount. So I don't have to use the legs anymore. So it's like there's this like weird community of people making, and I also have like a flashcard too, like crap for the Virtual Boy that make it somewhat bearable. Uh, and so it's interesting. So I'm not sure if I should cover that all in the same episode or if I should just try to like focus the attention of the title on the joystick. I don't know. Let me tweet at me and let me know what you guys think about that. But so we got that, and then also I have a GameCube memory card emulator, which is actually this big old brick unit that was sent over to me that I'll be checking out soon. And then I have a couple modded Wonder Swans that I want to be checking out. So things a little crazy around here. We have a lot of stuff, but we have a lot of good stuff coming up. So, John, I think that's actually everything I had on my agenda.
Let me check mine. Uh,
While you're looking, I'll just say as a reminder, if you're not joining us on social media, please do. We have a Facebook and Instagram, a Twitter. We have some content that's similar across all of them. We also have some more unique content that's suited a little bit more toward the taste
we've
of
got
each
a
one.
Patreon
And we have a
too.
page. I was about to mention that we have a Patreon as well, and we have a bunch of different like awesome 3D printed joysticks and stuff. Of the Hard4Games logo that you can get as a Patreon member. We have a Patreon only Discord that you can belong to, where all of our patrons chat it up. We post when we're drunk. We post.
There's a lot of drunk posting.
There is with everybody, but that's if you're not into that. That's its own channel. You don't have to visit, but we have a server where we have a bunch of different channels for a bunch of different topics that included, and just have a good time and chat it up. And since we do bloopers of our episodes once every 3 months or so, once every quarter, Shelby, our editor, kicks that out. It's all pretty good stuff. So there will be a link in the description below if you're interested in joining us on Patreon. And if you don't, that's cool too. It's always up to you. It's just a matter of, it helps the show, but even you guys staying here watching helps the show as well. So regardless, we appreciate it. John, was there anything on your Pugenda?
Well, I was going to cough, and then, yeah. By the way, when I had to, oh wait, I forgot to tell the end of my trail story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to leave these people hanging.
Yeah,
So,
go for it, John.
So congested. Yeah, so it's a good thing I got off the trail because, like the day after I started coming down with a cold, that's just nothing but congestion. But so on my first day on the trail, I hike out to forget what it's called, Black Hill Gap, something like that. I guess I can open my app and double check that while explaining. It's about 12, 13 miles onto the trail, which for a first day's hike, that's a really, really brutal hike. It is not terribly easy. It's almost completely uphill. and you're never really ready for it. It's super super. What would you call it? Black Gap shelter. That's what it is. So you're just super super demotivated by it, but I ended up absolutely loving it. And
Hmm.
then I make camp. I have my weird night's sleep. I get to hear all these animals outside, but absolutely beautiful night. Crazy amount of stars. Absolutely beautiful. All the people at the campsite were awesome. The next morning, I'm like, man, I can't believe this. This is so cool. So I'm like packing up my tent. I start eating one of my protein bars, which were a fairly large amount of the calories I had in my food bag. And it's just like this sudden, just like, oh, do I feel nauseous? Oh God, do I feel bad? Oh God, do I also feel really gassy? And then I'm just like, oh my God, am I having like a lactose intolerant response to this? Like, I can have malted like milkshakes and all kinds of stuff, and I never have these reactions.
Yep.
But then I remembered earlier in the year I had it was like a dairy based protein shake,
Hmm.
and man, that thing had me thrown up for like an hour. And then like I just had to like run to this like composting toilet
Oh no.
and use that. Didn't have to throw up, but let's just say there was some trumpeting on that early morning. And thankfully everyone else had packed up their tents and left by then.
Oh
Uh
man.
but I was just like sitting on the toilet and I was like, wait, if I can't eat these, oh my God. Because I realized like I had slowly eaten one the previous day and I kept wondering why my stomach was ever so slightly upset and
Oh
thought it was just that it was, maybe I had my pack on too tight or it was just me getting used to all this.
yeah.
And then I realized like, oh my God, oh shit, oh no, no, no. Uh this is this food. So I do the calculation and realize that I would have to go more than a day without food before resupply if I didn't eat these.
Yeah.
Or I could run back to the lodge, which is a really hard trail back as
Hmm.
well, and then swap out my food and then do one of the hardest days a third time and get up there
Hmm.
and then start going again. And it's like I would be 2 days behind. I would have the absolute hell beat out of my legs because it's like the first day is brutal, the second day is not so bad,
Yeah.
and like it's quite a bit more cruising after that. But I was just like, oh man, I'm just gonna try this another time with better equipment. But I did find out that it was a hell of a lot of fun.
Hmm.
I actually had quite a few people convinced. Like they were like, "Oh, so how long have you been hiking?" I was like, "Oh, this is my first day on a trail." And they're like, "Yeah, on this trail." I'm like, "No, on any."
Yeah.
Like, wait, really? They're like, "Oh man, your pace was amazing." Like the one guy I met the next day had been hiking for years,
Hmm.
and he started after I did and
Hmm.
didn't make it as far as I did
Wow.
on the first day.
You'll have to excuse me. Mr. Scrumpelfluffs is barking in the background. I think my wife is home.
Oh, that Louie.
Yeah, Mr. Floofenbottoms is getting all excited about something outside. It's not his angry bark. It's like his like, oh please, please, please come cuddle me bark. But yeah, so John got the mud butt on the trail,
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately, but he did have a good day and some killer exercise. He showed me the like the Fitbit stats or whatever it was, and
Oh yeah.
they're pretty
Let me
intense.
let me open ye old Fitbit and let's see if I go back. It's really easy to spot those days because it's like the day after I got back from the trail, 7,886 steps. Day on the trail, 32,000 steps.
Yeah.
126 floors, 14 miles. And this didn't actually properly calibrate for the extra pack that I had. It assumed that I was walking without burden,
Hmm.
but by that measurement, it was 5,600 calories
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
and 364 minutes in like my sort of like core zone.
Yeah. Oh
And
my
the
goodness.
previous day was 27,000 steps, 12 miles. Yeah, so when I woke up, I was like, you know what? I am a mile and a half from Springer Mountain, which is the southern terminus of the Appalachian Trail. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm getting up that damn mountain. So
Mm-hmm.
I pack everything up and I go up as quick as I can to get there. I take some pictures, chat with some people that are there, touch the first blaze, walk a little bit on the trail, turn around, and then I realize I'm like, I have like 12 miles I have to hike back. And so I realized that the only way I can get there in time for my brother-in-law to be able to pick me up is if I don't stop and I do an even faster pace than I did the first day.
Nice.
And oh my God, it was so hard. And luckily I was able to get cell signal several times. So I was able to figure out where there's some Forest Service roads,
Um,
and those have regulated grades they have. So I was able
hmm.
to just fly along some of those, but
Hmm.
it wasn't until yesterday where I didn't have a little bit of trouble walking because I just pushed myself so hard to get
Wow.
back that fast. Yeah, my ankles. It was like sort of where the tendon meets the calf.
Um,
That just felt like crap until today.
well, I'm sorry to hear that. Sounds like it was at least a
Yeah,
story.
but the day when I woke up at Black Gap Shelter, it's like what is it I just had a little bit of soreness. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, okay, that isn't too bad. It was just that I was like, I cannot stop. I cannot rest. I cannot massage my legs. I just have to just keep going. I have to eat while moving. I just have
Yeah.
to keep going. Like the only thing I could stop for was water. And
Yeah.
I had to do that like 3 times because it was like 85 out.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, John, I'm sorry that this happened to you, but
Oh no, no.
there.
I see it as I went out and I ended up actually finding out I really really enjoyed it, even though it wasn't exactly what I wanted. So
Well, yeah. Well, there you go. Roni's click says, "Sounds like Bobby's colonoscopy."
yeah, yeah.
It was very similar. All right, I think this is a good time to end the stream on that somewhat high note slash low note. Plus, people are probably getting ready for Game of Thrones. So, guys, thank you for joining us again. Hit us up, join us on Patreon, join us on social, any of that good stuff, and just hey, check out our episodes every Saturday morning. John, any final thoughts?
I have to agree with Null Zero that I am still waiting on the Nintendo 65.
There we go. There we go. All right, I'm gonna go see what my dog is barking at, and we will end the stream. We'll see you guys later.
All right,
See ya.
see ya.